everyone, my name is Rebecca Adams and I just want to talk to you guys about the impact of working conditions on patient outcomes. Here are your objectives. I would like you to be able to explain the impact of nurses' work environment on patient outcomes, be able to identify what aspects of a nurse's work environment have a negative impact on patient outcomes, and explain how the work environment influences nursing practice, healthcare, and society in America. Alright, so to introduce the topic, I wanted everyone to think about what's included in work environment and what makes a work environment healthy. Which leads us right to this slide, which is a chart that was done by the AACCN, and it lists the 6 factors they believe to be the key for a healthy work environment. And these include things like skilled communication, meaningful recognition, and effective decision making. Alright, so why is this relevant? So this affects all aspects of nursing care because a work environment affects patient outcomes. It is proven to be more expensive if it's a negative one. And also it can lead to nursing shortages and low staff rates on nursing floors because it starts a vicious cycle where negative work environments lead to decreased nurse retention, which decreases staff rates, and then the environment itself becomes more negative because it's short-staffed. And recently, the ANA and NDNQI have both cited improvement of work environments as top priorities for nursing in America because this has become such a huge problem in our field. So how does this influence our practice? Basically, the 3 main things that a work environment can improve if it's a positive one is increased job satisfaction, which will lead to happier nurses, higher rates of retention, which will lead to more experienced nurses on units, and higher education of staff and incentive for continuing education. And that has been associated with a decrease in falls and hospital-acquired infections, actually. So, and on the right you can see 2 charts, and the bottom is how favorable a work environment is. And as you can see on the right, with most favorable, that's when nurses enjoy their job the most, and that's when nurses stay on a unit longer, is if the environment is most favorable. Alright, continuing on. This is the effects of a negative work environment as opposed to a positive, and they're higher turnover rates, decreased staffing, and increased adverse nursing outcomes. These can include anything from increased chance of getting a needle stick, an increased risk of being obese as a nurse, and an increased risk for musculoskeletal injury. And if you think about it, these things really do happen if you work in a place that has a poor work environment. For example, when I go and work in the hospital, I float around the hospital every shift. I'm on a different floor. And when I'm in a work environment where there's not enough staff and there's not enough resources, I'll try to do things like move patients by myself, which is obviously a huge risk for musculoskeletal injury. So I just think it's important to think about how those types of situations are actually the result of a poor work environment. Impacts on healthcare and patients. So the following have been linked to negative work environments: increased rates of patient falls, increased lengths of patient stay, increased risk of nosocomial infections, medication errors, increased risk of readmission, increased mortality rates, decreased nurse-related quality of care. Wow, they're all major things that no one as a nurse wants to have. And this is just 2 more graphs showing you more specifically how unfavorable work environments can affect patient outcomes. So there's an increased rate with the least favorable environments for pressure ulcers and also for falls. And here are some statistics that I thought you guys should see. A more healthy work environment is linked to an 8.1% decrease in the risk of patient mortality, and the difference in cost between a good work environment versus a bad work environment is estimated at $163 million saved. This is a quote from one of the studies that I read that really stuck out to me and I wanted to share. In most industries, the price of replacing an employee is approximately 25% of the employee's salary, but the cost of replacing one nurse is estimated to be 200% of the nurse's annual salary. And I think that just goes to show how important a work environment is, because every time a nurse leaves a unit because of a bad work environment, it costs an incredible amount of money to retrain, and also you can't get back the experience that that nurse had. All right, and the impact on society. So everything we talked about during this presentation was money related, whether it be training a new nurse because you couldn't retain an old nurse, or whether it be patients being readmitted constantly and costing healthcare millions of dollars. All of these are things that cost a ton of money. And we all know that when healthcare costs are increased, our insurance premiums go up, and also people who had insurance may no longer be able to afford insurance. And so that is the biggest effect that this has on American society. In conclusion, a healthy work environment is not only safer, more cost effective, but also healthier for nurses, and it should be something that we strive to better in our nursing practice every day. Thanks for your time. Have a great night. Thank you for listening. Here are my references. If you have any questions, please just comment below. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.